product that they've been working on and putting together is a private entity product. It's not something, I know we always talk about public health. We're talking about it now and the challenges with safety and what's factual and the challenges you guys have of making sure that you're passing and everything else. But I think the other piece to this is about consumer confidence, especially during this COVID time. It's not going to leave us. And we need to understand as well that, it's not only about the type of the food you're serving and the service that you provide, which is probably the top two categories for whether people are going to choose your restaurant or not. The safety of your restaurant and what you're doing is as important as those other two right now. And I think it's going to continue for years to come. And I think that's really the purpose of this product that they've kind of been working on, and they're going to share with you a little bit now. But understanding as I go around the state and talk to, whether it's customers, patrons, media, everybody else, like they applaud restaurants like some of yours of the steps you're taking on safety measures, whether it's Grana Arso with what they do with temperature checks. They temperature check customers. They have a whole procedure, whether it's Stevie Abrams and the Max Group with some of the restaurants with the full glass and all the stuff you guys are doing of separating your booths and banquettes and making sure and how you promote that. So that is a big factor, and I think why kind of this product with DineSafe is to really look at it. But I want you guys, I don't want to take Ryan and Steve's words from them, but I just want you guys to know I have been kind of talking to them and learning more. And I think it's a possibility, a partnership for the CRA, or a good possibility that we would like to move forward of promoting it. And they'll kind of explain the process and the product. So Ryan and Steve, I don't know if you guys have sharing capability, but if you do, you want to, if you have slides or whatever else, the virtual floor is yours.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, I'm gonna get our screen.
Yeah, while he does, I'll tell you what, and everyone, this is Steve Richard. I'm down in the DC area. I've met some of you. I'm a tech entrepreneur and best friend of Ryan's. Grew up in Torrington, Connecticut, so Connecticut through and through, and had an opportunity to sit down with a lot of you, talk to you about what's going on right now. I got to tell you, the developments last night, and then the things you're just talking about now, and Scott. So, Stephen, to your point, look, right now they're not doing anything, but I think that we all agree, the more we do, the better, the more we have documented, the better, because who the hell knows what's going to change? I mean, they're changing the regulations so damn fast. Right now, my kids, I got 4 kids that go to Arlington Public Schools, and there's no school, and they're talking about going back. I almost guarantee you, based on the things that are happening with the spikes and then Trump getting it, I almost guarantee you they're going to keep these kids back. And they're not going to put them back in schools, which is making me crazy, but that's another story. So anyway, with that backdrop, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, guys, I'm just pulling up the screen share. Hang on one sec. Got a new computer, and so of course it's.
If you want, Ryan, I can do it too.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I got the updated slide right here on Chrome. I just gotta give Zoom the permission. Shoot. Hey, Steve, can you go on Chrome and pull it up, because it wants me to quit and sign back in?
Yep, I can. I got it up right now. Hold on. Oh, you know what it is? So, hey, Scott, who's the host?
You're co-host now, Steve.
I just made you co-host, yeah.
Okay, good. There you go. Now I have the ability to do it. You gave me the permissions. Even Zoom's changing everything. They now forced it. They forced that waiting room as of this week. It created chaos in my company. About 30 people are yelling at me. All right, Ryan, go ahead. Take it away.
Steve, can you pull up the newest deck?
Which one is that?
Brand new from this morning.
Is it in my inbox or is it in Drive?
It's in the Drive.
You share it with me?
Yep.
Hang on.
Or you can go with one that you have. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Hang on. All right, we're going with this one because I got it. Go ahead.
Let it roll. All right, guys. So our company is called DineSafe, and it's the purpose of DineSafe is, let's see, how do you just jump to the next slide? Yep. Dining out at restaurants has changed forever, right? We're talking about safety and transparency are now the most important factors considered by guests when they're choosing not only where to eat, but whether they'll dine out at all. And that is a sea change to where we had been even 9 months ago. 9 months ago, we existed in a universe where, you take out an old Zagat's guide and you would see, well, what are the criteria that Zagat's uses to rate restaurants? It's decor, it's cost, and it's the quality of the cuisine. There's going to be a fourth category now, and that fourth category is going to be around for a very long time. That fourth category is safety. You can see some of these numbers that we pulled from Open Table and Business Wire, and you can really see the mindset of guests is changing, right? And it's not just that the mindset of guests is changing in what they're looking for, but it's also changing how restaurants have to approach their guests, how restaurants can reach out to consumers. There's a gap between, I'm in your restaurants every day. I see the great things that you guys are doing. We talk about it. I know how hard you guys are working to be compliant, but there's an information gap there. Not every guest, and I'd say the majority of guests, don't understand why, first of all, what you guys are doing exactly. They know about gloves or masks or 6 feet apart, but they don't understand what all those things mean and how frequently you're doing them. And so there is this gap, and I think you've got 10% of the population, people like myself, people like Steve, we're going to go out and eat at restaurants anywhere, no matter what, right? I love it. You got people like my father, a lot of you know my father. Bud is never going back to restaurants, right?
Jane won't let him.
Jane will not let it. Bud's 70 years old. Jane's like, you're not going anywhere, right? So that's the other 10%. And then you got this big middle chunk of consumers who want to go out to restaurants. They miss restaurants and they recognize the incredible role that restaurants play in our communities. That sort of social fabric that we look for from the restaurant and dining experience. But they're hesitant. They're concerned. They've got small kids. They've got older parents. They've got jobs that they can't afford to be out from. So they're really hesitant, and they're saying, how do I know what restaurants are doing to keep me safe? So that leads us to a problem, but also an opportunity, right? And that is, despite the incredible demand for restaurant safety and transparency, there is no definitive source of public information on what steps you guys are taking to keep guests safe, right? So we have this problem, but that problem is an opportunity, and there's a solution there, and that solution we hope is DineSafe.
And Ryan, let me add something to this too, because I had a chance to interview a lot of you, and I heard the same theme again and again. You're mostly doing the right stuff. Your people are mostly doing the right stuff. I used to work in restaurants in college, but I've never owned one. If someone's not doing the right things, here's the other thing that when Ryan and I were going around from one restaurant to another, we always found, not me, but Ryan, because he knows what he's looking for, one thing that each of you weren't doing right, but you didn't even know it, which is insane. But this is the gap. The minute that someone said, I think we were in J. Tim's, the minute that Ryan said, hey, you guys can't have the wing bucket, or maybe it was the salt and pepper on the table. It was like, while we were walking out, some of the people who were doing the outside takeout stuff turned around and said, hey, Ryan, by the way, buddy, thanks for that. We hate refilling those damn things. That was great. So, you want to do the right thing with the restaurants. You're mostly doing the right thing, but there's a massive gap because nobody has any idea. I can tell you this from the dining public. Nobody has any idea what you're doing. And all the logs and things that you're doing are by and large paper-based, and they're by and large being held internally in an analog way. That's an old school way of working at the world. And this is where I came in when I was talking to Ryan about this initially, because I was like, anytime me as a tech entrepreneur sees something that's paper-based or like done on Excel, or like, safety used to be back of house. I think it was Phil that told us this. Safety, he goes, safety was back of house. Now safety's front of house, and it ain't going away. Whenever I see something like that as a tech entrepreneur, I'm going, that's something that needs to get fixed. That's got to get disrupted. And that's where the concept comes in. First of all, everyone that we talked to said our restaurants operate on a daily rhythm or cadence. Because originally when we envisioned this, we said, let's get people to submit compliance information once a month or something. Forget that. It's got to be like 3 questions a day, and it's got to be habitualized. It's just as regular as going into your POS and logging in, when you log in with your number to log in the beginning of the day. It's got to be that habitualized. And get people to start collecting information. And this, I heard you talking about the temperature checks. I was just actually chatting Ryan on the side, being like, hey man, we gotta get temperature checks in there too, or logs, because anything that you can have that is verifiable will win. Here's what's happening right now. Stephen, you said right now, I think the public health officials are rooting for the restaurants to stay open. How long is that gonna last? I don't know. I mean, so I think that if there's an opportunity right now for everybody to do as much as you possibly can and be squeaky clean and make it so it's not that hard, it's going to be better. The only way to do that is with technology. Every one of the people in your restaurants is one of these. Get them log in every day. They answer the 3 questions. They take a picture of a couple of the compliance elements, and they do it every single day. And the thing that's great about that is that it's an audit trail. So if you have, like we said, city to city, Hartford might be good right now, but who the hell knows? Maybe West Hartford's not. Maybe down on the shore. Maybe closer to New York, Stanford. You get different people saying different stuff. If that's the case, I've got the same exact evidence and audit trail. So right off the bat, we help you guys, number one, stay compliant. When the compliance is changed, you don't need to think. I'm hearing this whole conversation about chefs wearing masks. One of the questions is gonna be, does your chef wear a mask? Take a picture. There you go. Like, now we know that that's something we need to be doing every day. We didn't have to think about it. We didn't have to translate some really complicated state statute or governor order, anything like that. But this is the interesting part. So once you get this certification of DineSafe, which, by the way, this is all free. This doesn't cost anything. Once you get the certification of DineSafe, then the next thing that happens is, and we even give you this for free for a while because we're trying to see you get back up and running, is we syndicate that information. We publish it out to the general public. So right now, if you go online, if you Google your restaurant, this is what the dining public's doing. If you Google your restaurant and the word safety, you should do that for each of your restaurants and see what comes up. You will be surprised. You will see things like, there are unanswered questions about safety about Trumbull Kitchen that nobody's gotten to. Now, Stephen, maybe that's not true, but I'm just picking on you because you were talking, right? You're gonna see a lot of interesting things. You're also gonna see Yelp has just put out something with some check marks. Open Table has a couple things, but it's, guess what it is? It's all information that's provided by the dining public. It's all crowdsourced. It's not coming from you. So now all of a sudden you're going to potentially be held hostage by what we've heard referred to as a Karen. A Karen is defined as, like, a problem guest that goes and complains online and makes a big stink.
Can I speak to your manager, please?
Yeah, may I speak to your manager, please? But even worse than that's good, because you can at least head it off. The worst Karens are the ones that just they're disgruntled. They go online, pissed off, and they post something. We want to try to stop that. So that's what number 4 is all about, is giving these people an outlet to report both, A, this is good and this is not good. But going back to what we're seeing in Yelp and what we're seeing on Open Table, they're the first 2 sites that have anything about safety. In both cases, they're coming from the dining public. When we interviewed you, the restaurant owners, I heard the same thing over and over again. Oh my God, please don't let these people crowdsource information about my safety. This is horrifying to me, because you don't get to control it. You don't get to keep control of your revenue stream. And when we heard one bad comment about safety could potentially be worth 10,000 in sales or more. I mean, what I just heard is, if you got a tough customer that shuts you down for a period of time, a Department of Health worker that shuts you down, that could be even more. So there's a real kind of, I think a burning need right now for restaurants to take control of the narrative, because right now restaurants are turning into victims. That's just what it is. And by the way, the public doesn't want that. The public does not want the restaurants to be victims. The public wants restaurants to be there and stay open. You see all these ads about support your favorite restaurant. They're putting these things on during football now, much and all the time. There's only one way to do that. You got to get the information out there through these different websites that people are already looking at anyway. If you don't get the information out there yourselves, it doesn't exist. It's like you're not even doing it at all.
Yep. And I think that that's where DineSafe makes it so simple, and that the technology that we're going to offer is the ability to syndicate all that information with the push of a button. We don't want your GMs to have to come in every day and to do things, take on additional responsibilities, right? We want you to be able to send out that information to where your customers already are with the push of a button. And that's the kind of technology that we're going to be looking at, in terms of, if you've done all this work and you get DineSafe certified, and you get DineSafe certified by following the criteria that we provide based on state statute and the governor's executive orders, you'll get certified DineSafe. And then we take that information to where the public is and let them see it in a very easy to understand, comprehensive certification profile page.
And hey, Ryan, one more thing to add on this is we literally just took this to the head of Google Maps. So the head of product at Google, actually the VP of product at Google, not just for Google Maps, but for all the different Google products. This is a very, very senior person at Google. We got a response within what, 12 hours? I mean, it was, so the fact that someone like that at a place like Google is like, we're in, like, we need to talk to you guys immediately. That is a massive, I think that's just showing how important this is and how we really have to get this started immediately. So Ryan, you want to talk about this?
Sure. We were talking about DineSafe creates that critical marketing edge. We're looking to put butts in seats, right? Capacity's still an issue. The winter's coming. We're going to be going indoors. And I think if we're looking for a way to differentiate ourselves between the competitors, if you're DineSafe certified and the competitors are not, I think that is something that could really put restaurants over the top, staring down this unpleasant fall and winter. And so the question would be, if other restaurants are DineSafe, how can you afford not to be DineSafe? And I think that's we're hoping to create a product that carries that level of authority and reliance from the dining public.
Guys, what do you think about this concept? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I can say it, from what I've heard so far, it sounds like, the perfect product that's appeared at the perfect time. I'm not a restaurant, I'm a banquet catering facility, but I'm assuming that we would still be able to utilize this technology. And as us looking to reopen and have, weddings full of people come back to be able to certify and publicly show that we're doing all of the things. I think this product sounds terrific.
Thank you. I'll tell you what, I went to Silver Diner. I took 3 of the kids and then 2 of their friends to Silver Diner yesterday. And they claim to be the first restaurant group in the country that has its air handling system that's the equivalent of a hospital. But then the irony of the whole thing is that the way they told us this is a card on the table, which is not even compliant. And then they had a menu on the table, which I was sitting there going like actual like plastic menu, which I don't think you could do, right, Ryan? Or at least maybe not in Connecticut. Yeah. So yeah, I think we're all trying to figure it out exactly. And it doesn't matter if you're,
right.
if you're catering
and
weddings.
also, putting the information indoors to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? The diners have already made the decision to come in or not to come in. You need to take the information to where the diners already are.
And good point. I think this is, I don't see why it doesn't work for caterers or doesn't work for events or really a whole bunch of other places as well, because again, everybody's walking around all day with one of these. So. Anyone, any other thoughts? And I'm curious, have any of you actually looked up what's going on, what people are saying online, or what information is online about your different restaurant locations or your businesses regarding safety? If there's anything that's happening yet, because I've been doing that spot checking like one at a time, and most of the time I see nothing, or every so often I see something that's kind of thin, but I never see anything from the restaurants or the restaurant groups themselves. Almost never.
Hey guys, it's Matt. So I was seeing, I don't see anything on the restaurants safety-wise, which is good. How do you plan on integrating it with, getting it into Yelp and Open Table's hands, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, we already have a plan with Facebook. So Facebook's done. Several of the other sites have open APIs, public APIs. API is a fancy term in the tech world. The way I think about it, it means application protocol interface. What you need to know is I had someone describe it as it's like the connective tissue of the internet. So it's the way that different tech providers push information or pull information back and forth from each other. So quite a few of those have open APIs. Google does not, but the fact that Google's head of product got back to us that quickly, and then we also saw some things in the press about what Google's trying to do for restaurant owners is pretty exciting. Google also hates Yelp. So Yelp right now seems to be the leader in these little green check boxes, which are pretty pathetic if you ask me. And again, they're all crowdsourced. So it's going to be, Matt, it's a great question. It's going to be, it looks like it's going to be one company at a time. But the good news is we got a CTO, this guy named James Gieselman, who's a friend of my brother-in-law, who's already had a big exit. So he sold a previous company and did really well. And he's all in on this. He took a while to kind of contemplate it, and he's all in. So he's the one that's able to give us all that information on where and how. Of course, it'll be pushed to, your websites and places like that too.
So I think one of the other features that we really want to talk about is, the idea of accountability. And accountability is always important, but during COVID, it's critical. And there's going to be an ownership dashboard page, right, where the owner of the restaurant or the restaurant group goes on the owner dashboard and can see all their locations, can see the GM in charge for those locations, and if that GM met their daily compliance requirements, right? So if you want to get a quick macro bird's eye view of what your restaurants are doing, and not just what they're doing, but who's supposed to be doing it. So if it doesn't get done, you know who to go to, you know who to talk to about it, and you'll also be able to see the pictures. So just like, we're seeing the pictures to issue DineSafe certification, you're seeing them to make sure to see what's going on in your restaurant. I mean, look, guys, I've gone into some restaurants and I will see the compliance list taped to the bathroom door, to the wall, and I see the pencil mark that just runs in a line from the top of the boxes down to the bottom of the boxes, right? Obviously, that's not every restaurant, but on days that it gets crazy, it can be really tough to stay compliant. And from a legal standpoint, I view that, and Steve talked a little bit before about the audit trail, the fact that if we want to create an affirmative defense to any claims of negligence from staff or customers, what better way than to have a whole bunch of pictures and weekly documentation of all the things that we did to stay safe. I mean, that to me is the strongest good faith defense I've ever heard of. I mean, I'm not sure what else a restaurant owner could do short of standing there every single day and watching what everybody does.
So Ryan, do you have actually a mock or two that you could grab and we could sort of talk through that for a minute?
Sure.
And I think that'll help you guys visualize it. But the most important criteria for building this technology that we had was make it really, really easy. Like super, super, super simple, so that everyone has the ability to very easily know what they're supposed to be doing, enter information they're supposed to be providing, take pictures as necessary. I'm glad we had that conversation about the temperature log, because I don't think that's one of the things we have in there now, right?
No, that's a great idea.
But we should, because Stephen, it's that kind of thing exactly. It's like, I mean, how the hell would we know that when the Department of Health comes around, that's the thing that they're going to look at? But now that we're gathering that type of information from you, we can make those types of questions be the front and center ones, and then be able to provide the digital documentation about what's going on. And then you'll be able to see across your different restaurants if someone's slacking on that, we can get it fixed up.
And I'll just jump in for a second, Steve and Ryan. Matt, to your question, that kind of leads why we're having the call as well from a CRA side. I think, yes, Yelp, Open Table, those things are important, and I think hopefully we get there. But I think the other value here is a partnership with the CRA and our engine to talk about, hey, we're partnering with DineSafe Connecticut. We're going to do a beta launch maybe in a town first, is what we've kind of talked about, and then making sure we kind of go through that process and then branch out and launch it statewide to say, hey, we're trying to work with all of our members that want to do this, and we're going through even more protocols so our public know that our restaurants are taking this seriously, and they've been doing it for 6 months or 5 months or whatever that is in our messaging. I think that might also, because I think the Open Table Yelp might be a little bit farther down the road, but I think using the CRA is the first 30-day engine here to really push it out to the customers. Kind of the same way like the Connecticut Restaurant Promise. Like the promise, made people feel good as we talked about outdoor dining. We talked about the promise you guys are taking, but I think this is tangible. This is, people can actually go and see, can see the app. I mean, that's what they're working on as well. They're working on a back-end app that's kind of been developed for you that you can see within your restaurant that has a lot more bells and whistles. But then there's also an opportunity for the customers to actually see in real time what that restaurant is doing on a daily basis, to follow that they feel, if they want to go into that much into the weeds, they can, to know that, there is so much more that you don't even realize, that even Steve, not noticing that you guys are doing temperature checks, you guys are doing logs or whatever that you guys are doing. if people want to know those things, they can learn about it.
So I just looked up both, I started with TK's website. I didn't see anything on safety. I then went to the next one, was TripAdvisor, nothing on safety. Now we're on Yelp, and this is the first time we're seeing, and I think I know how most of you feel about Yelp, from what I've heard. Not great. And again, you look at this and I say, this is the first we're seeing. This is the reason why Google is jumping at this. The number one thing you're always going to see when you search for anything is going to be Google, especially when you're on a mobile device, which is where 80% of the searches happen. So this is the first time we're seeing anything, but is this instilling any sort of confidence in the public to go back? I highly doubt it. This seems about as lame as you get. So that's where this really starts to kick in. Ryan, you have it where you could share now, or you? Yeah, no, you're muted.
Yvette, can you put me on sharing, please?
And then I think OpenTable, I've seen that they have, wow, look at that. So OpenTable's talking about it in press releases and everything, but they still don't have anything. So I think this is an important thing that every one of you does, no matter what comes of all of this, because if, again, we know that right now people are doing these searches and there's just not a whole lot of information out there.
All right, so Steve, can you guys see my screen now?
Make it just shrink the screen size a little bit so it fits.
How's that? Actual size.
There you go. That's right. That's perfect.
Okay, there we go. So if we're talking about, how we're going to handle, this is an example of the site, right? So if you're on the owner dashboard, obviously the guys who made our sites are big Pearl Jam fans, so they have the members of Pearl Jam as your general managers. But you'll be able to see each day whether they're compliant or not. You'll be able to drop down and see what those compliance questions were each day. The way the questions get sent, so see, I can show you here, you'll be able to see here, hand sanitizer was not done, use of disinfectants and cleaning wipes was done. You'll see this is what the compliance questions look like each day. So your GM gets a text to their phone, they click the link, they come here. They see what the question is, they see a little bit of a description about it, and then if they want to learn more about that, they'll click on the link. So there's 3 levels of information. They can get just the bare bones, I got to use disposable menus, a little bit more of an explanation, or a full link if they really want to dive deep into this. For where there'll be picture options, there'll be hand sanitizer, for example. They'll ask you to upload. You upload it, it comes on, and there it goes. So we try to make it as easy as possible. Again, it's going to be a mobile optimized application, a mobile optimized website first. We have an app in production. And as soon as we have the critical mass of users that we're looking for, I think at that point, it'll make sense to roll out the app.
Ryan, do you have a picture of the report, the publicly facing report in Vision yet, or no?
I don't have that yet.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. And it will be summarized in a one nice, clean, simple report. But I think more importantly is when you start pushing out that kind of information, the other thing you're going to be able to do here is, I think some of you probably know about search engine optimization, SEO. When all that data starts to go out onto different websites, that's going to help your cause when it comes to SEO as well. So I'll go back to Torrington. Let's say you're looking for Torrington, Connecticut restaurant safety. Then if you're a restaurant in Torrington that's been using DineSafe and pushing that information out, Google loves it when websites are updated regularly. So as a result, your ranking on that term is going to go up, up, up. And that's where we see there being kind of a competitive edge and a competitive advantage versus restaurants that are not doing this, because people make decisions on where they're going to go eat based on what they see online. They just do. Any questions?
Is there any?
Ryan and Steve, can you guys talk about, what your plan of, obviously you're talking about the app, but, like I think like on a rollout side, or how you guys look at Connecticut and implementing it with, our members, and not like what, just kind of
Sure.
give everyone kind of a lay of the land of the plan.
Absolutely, Scott. So the goal is we're going to have the MVP, the version 1.0 will be available next week. We're going to try to roll it out in West Hartford first. The reason why we chose West Hartford is because it has a good volume of restaurants and consumers. You don't want to start off in an area where there's only 3 or 4 restaurants. Consumers, I think, might get frustrated if they then go on and try to find, a restaurant and there's one over here and one over here and one over there, but no critical mass. So we're going to start in West Hartford, go there for a few weeks, get the ball rolling, launch a public relations campaign to get the word out to the consumers. So basically, DineSafe will be doing marketing for subscribers to DineSafe. After we do Connecticut and after we get West Hartford squared away, it's our goal to expand to the rest of the state fairly rapidly. Obviously, assuming that we're having the success that we want and the technology is working as we hope it will. And after we get Connecticut squared away, maybe by late fall, we can move on to some additional states. Ideally, we can work with DineSafe can work with the CRA and other associations, other state associations to engage members across the Eastern Seaboard, get as many restaurants signed up as we can. One thing that we've talked about with Scott is a revenue share. We would really like to give back to the association. We would like to share revenue. We're going to have, obviously, most of this wouldn't be possible without the experiences I've had at the CRA and people I've worked with. So the numbers that we were looking at were, possibility of bringing $250,000 of revenue to the CRA annually, best case, if we start to hit some of our larger regional goals. So we would definitely like to be involved with the CRA both as as a partner and as a revenue share. I think that's a very important part of it to me.
Matt, you had a question I saw.
Yeah, thanks. Just curious if there's any customer interaction with the app, or does it stay locked up? Is there commenting or ways for them to put in information?
No, we kept that out of it. We kept that out of her reason. But
good. Thank you.
Step 4. You guys told us that very clearly when we interviewed. Step 4. What we're envisioning is a private community side. So basically, what that means is when we finally get DineSafe in the hands of the dining public and guests, they can submit when things are going well, when they're concerned, hey, I saw that you had a chef that had their mask pulled down around their neck. They might even snap a quick pic, that kind of thing, but they'll submit it to you. That's the important thing, is that you'll get that information. It's not going to go up online. What we're trying to do here is get you to be able to control this. Because actually, it was sitting down with George. George was telling some story about someone who was just online bitching and moaning that he didn't have a menu item that he used to have, and finally he addressed it. Or no, it was the guy from Waterbury, Ryan. That's who it was. Chris. Yeah, and then he said, "Boy, in retrospect, I wish I had just given her menu item that she wanted. I found out she was a regular later on. It really cost me a lot of business. I should have just taken it more seriously right off the bat and just been done with it." So we want to give you the opportunity to do that. $5 coupon, give them a free drink, something like that, free delivery if you're doing that, but do something like that for these people that are getting involved. And rather than going and complaining online, they're coming to you with the issues and you guys can address it in the house.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Matt. Good one.
And to that point, Steve, you kind of mentioned a little bit, but you guys are looking, as you roll this out from a customer facing side, as incentivizing them, to frequent, DineSafe certified restaurants, in their area or things like that, like through working with the restaurants, right? I'm assuming like through, get a free appetizer or whatever, like of trying to go through the app to possibly either ready to do a reservation or going to that restaurant.
Yeah, Scott, I think part of that is that we want to be able to show restaurant owners that they're getting value for the product. So, if folks are incentivized to go, if you eat at a DineSafe restaurant, you show your phone, you scan, you get, like you said, a 5% off coupon, $5 off coupon, free drink, whatever it is. That allows us to go to restaurant owners and say, here's a quantifiable way of seeing just about how many people are looking at DineSafe and using it to make a decision to come to your restaurant.
Everyone, I apologize. I have to go for my 10 a.m., but it was nice seeing some of you and meeting some of you for the first time. Thank you so much. And Ryan will stay on.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah,
Other
guys.
questions from the group? Steve, I think you're on mute.
My question is, the information gets uploaded to that site by a manager in the restaurant by taking pictures, is that right?
Yes.
So, like the questionnaire that's taped to the bathroom door with a line going down it
Right.
that he mentioned, what would prevent a manager, a non-diligent manager, just taking a picture of a guy with a mask on and putting it up?
The pictures are going to be geotagged for day and location.
Okay.
So, that for us, we view that as a big deterrent, that your name, the GM's name is attached there. They've got the pictures that have the geotagging. I don't think that's something that we're going to have to worry about too often, fortunately.
Okay. So I'm not that bright, so you gotta start over again. So manager comes in the morning. He takes a picture of each guy on the line with the mask.
So Steve, he's going to get a text message to his phone in the morning when he comes in. It's going to say, today you've got 3 compliance questions that you need to answer. By the end of the week, he'll have answered all the compliance questions on our list, which are always updated based on new executive orders, new best practices, things like that. So he'll get the text. So, and you'll be in charge of saying on Monday, this GM is in charge. On Tuesday, this GM's in charge.
Okay.
So.
All right. And are the questions customizable to the restaurant?
We can do that. Right now, they're set up to be based on all the regulations, but we can definitely add, we can customize based on what the restaurant wants. That's not a problem.
And the only thing I heard was free. Which is bullshit. How much is it?
$100 a month per location, with a discount per location, and if a discount for CRA members as well.
Okay, so it's reasonable.
I think so. But
are you financially involved in this?
Yes, I am. Absolutely. I'll be acting as CEO of the company, with a number of founding partners. Steve with his tech background, George Chips will be involved as a founding board member. We've been working with Nicole Griffin as our director of government relations.
Good pick.
I'm sorry?
Good pick.
Yes, and Yvette has been working with us in her limited spare time.
Another good pick.
Director of coalition relations. The goal is to work through the CRA while maintaining a clear delineation between it, which obviously is hard when you put CRA people in. But we want to basically, the goal here is to help restaurants with a good idea that we hope will make some money as well. I'm not going to say it's not designed to make money, but
of course, it should be.
Right. But trying to be reasonable and putting restaurants first, and giving back to the CRA and helping, doing whatever we can to help build the CRA as well. And I think, frankly, it's pretty cool if the CRA can look out across the country and say, hey, not only does our state have the best rate, but we've also got the, new cutting edge technology that we're offering, that, we're rolling out to members that other states don't have. I think that's a cool thing for us.
And how much of the development of this app depends on you getting the Google and the Yelp to pick up on it? I mean, is it more for basing it more for our internal use and then hoping that goes out to the public, or is that really part of the strategy?
I view this as the value that we're going to deliver is from the public facing side of it. So, if in the beginning, while we're putting these partnerships together, we have to, on our end, push that information out manually, that's fine. We're willing to do that. We wouldn't ask any of the restaurant owners, you sign up, we're going to get that information out there, period. There's no more work on your end. Although, long term, we need these partnerships to work out. And we feel really good about some of them have open APIs, right? So not everyone requires a full partnership, but like a Google is going to be very careful about allowing access to their information. But the fact that we've already been able to reach out to them, discuss the idea with them, and that resulted in a meeting that we're going to have in 2 weeks to discuss the partnership. We've already signed an NDA with Google. So I feel they're taking us seriously. Whether that turns into a long-term partnership still remains to be seen. But I feel glad they didn't tell us to drop dead out of the gate. So,
is there something that you envision that a point of purchase material where you walk in and something's in your face that shows the guests that we're using this product?
We have so for next month we'll be ready with a if you're DineSafe certified, there'll be a certificate you can put outside. Obviously, in addition to the digital offerings, right? You'll be able to put it outside. It has a QR code on it. It says we're DineSafe certified. You can scan the QR code to see what that means. That'll take you to your page on DineSafe that will have all of the lists and pictures and the whole shebang. So if the guest's outside, they're hesitant, they're not sure, they scan the QR code, they get all the information.
You guys are smarter than I am, but how about if you, and you probably already worked on this, if you scan that QR code, it geotags you, and if there's any contract tracing ever needed, you can be easily contacted.
That's not a bad idea. Actually, I hadn't thought of that, Steve. So that's a good idea.
I mean, you do that. You put it on every table, maybe with a little thing explaining if you want to know what is going on, and if you care to be contact traced, if God forbid there's a need to be. There's going to be plenty of people that say, "Oh no, I don't want that. I don't want anybody following me." There's going to be those people who say, "Of course."
Yeah, I think to have the option is not a bad thing at all.
Right. In New York, they are doing that mandatory. Believe it. Well, I think we talked about that earlier.
And part of the idea is that we're viewing the initial rollout, the version 1.0, as let's get it out there and let's see how it works in the wild. I don't anticipate that it's going to be absolutely perfect. That's why we want to have a free trial for all the CRA folks, so that you can use it. We can talk to you, see how it works, see if there's areas that we need to tweak it. But look, I'm not a tech guy by any stretch, but I've seen what these guys have done. I've seen the team that we have in place, and I feel good about our ability to be responsive and adjust the product to, things are changing every day. So obviously we have to have flexibility there. But I feel good about it.
And then to chime in with Ryan, because we've talked at length about the product and where it can go if it does take off. Steve, I think, as you understand, this is being built right now about COVID specific safety and protocols and guidelines for Connecticut. Not really back of house, more front of house safety, to what Phil said, and talking about Phil earlier of safety is such an issue. But as they move forward, I think there's an opportunity possibly, as I know how much you guys cringe when public health walks into your restaurant, and you just want to get a passing score. But if there's more of a private entity that is showcasing all the things you're doing in the back of house, with your walk-ins and how clean things are and all that I don't think the public knows about. It's like, oh, you have an A on your window, then you're good. Like okay, great. If you have to put that up in your town, but there could be more expansive ideas, and it's not being run by the state. It's not being run by a state agency. It could be done in the favor of restaurateurs that created this product. This is really where the stem of this comes from. These are restaurateurs creating products to showcase all the things you're doing to the public, and it's not being done by DPH, and we understand the challenges you guys face every day with them, but more about you guys know this better than I would speak to our members, at least learning about this industry in 2.5 years. When I walk through your guys' kitchens, it's a lot different than kitchens I walk into for some of the non-members and some of the places that and for me, it makes me take a step back when I see your walk-ins and the labeling, when I see, the cleanliness of your kitchens, when I see your floors, and you're talking about the slip service floors, that's not common in all restaurants. And I think that, if there's ways to do it right, at least to highlight the people that are going above and beyond, to your point, Stephen, about you guys taking temperature checks, which might not be a guideline mandate. So we don't want to say you have to do that to be certified, but you can maybe get bonus points or showcase other things you're doing above and beyond. I think that's great. But I also think there's a potential, even after COVID, and we get a year from now, about how this product can even continue to morph to be safe, because safety is always going to be a concern. And I can tell you, you guys all hear it too. I don't know if I'd go to that restaurant. I don't think their kitchen's that clean. Well, is that true? Or was that 8 years ago? Or is it new management? Like, I think that people's perception, and it's never really talked about, I think that also can really hurt your brand. And I think if there's ways to showcase all the things that you guys are doing, is this really where I see the product, in a sense, taking off and having being able to live longer than COVID and live much longer and possibly grow into a whole viewpoint of our industry.
Scott, that's a great point. Somebody was telling me a story the other day about when their grandmother passed. They went into her house and they found cash hidden in the wall, hidden in the sofa, under the table, right? Because she had grown up in the Great Depression. And so that mindset stayed with her, even though we were obviously well past the Great Depression. So I think the idea here is that the generation that's going through this right now with COVID and masks and safety and security, there's always going to be part of them that looks at safety as a new pillar of the dining industry. It's no longer in the sidecar. It's now part of the main event. And I think that the mindset has changed. And we're getting DineSafe as an entity. We're already engaging in some conversations with institutional investors. So I feel like we're getting a really positive response. We're doing okay raising money. So we're going to be able to get off the ground and start to do some cool things. And the idea is, grow with the restaurants. As these rules and regulations change, we want to be able to change too. And it looks like we're setting ourselves up to have that ability at least.
So,
well, Ryan, a good start would be to get all the CRA members using it, and for us to perhaps use it in marketing in our email campaigns. Really get the word out, and create some customer recognition. If you have all the restaurants that are part of the CRA using it, you'll get a lot of brand recognition quickly, I believe.
I mean, I think absolutely, and it's also, I think it would be a really, just as a thing for the industry as a whole, to say, look at what we're doing. We're taking this really seriously, and these are the ideas that are coming out of the CRA. There's no one else that's doing anything like this out there. So,
well, I think for the Max Restaurant Group to market it, it would be free for the first couple months, then free, and then free to everybody else, and then after that, it'll be $100 a month.
Yeah, and I think from our perspective, when we talk to investors to raise the capital to go further, the first thing that they say is they want to see people using it. And so of course, and so I think for our benefit is to have the data to show restaurants will use this on a daily basis and make it a habit, and that's our first priority, is to make sure that we can get your GMs to use it habitually.
Well, so, if you make it mandatory, and your GMs will have to use it.
Yeah, I mean, it's different restaurants, I think, put different amounts of pressure on their GMs. So, but I think for everybody on this call, and I wouldn't have a doubt about that.
Yeah, and so it's 10:14. I obviously wanted to stay within the hour, and I know we had some other stuff to talk about. I appreciate, I see a lot of the board on this call. I think the ask I'm going to have of you guys from at least a board vote, I've talked to people that weren't able to be on the call, but I'll send an email out. The big thing right now that we want to kind of get answered, I think, trying to give you guys a sense of, obviously there's still got to be more testing. I think going to West Hartford and launching it for a couple of weeks to really make sure, get the bells and whistles out of the process and make sure before you really do a full rollout. But looking to put a partnership together with the CRA on a revenue share. Not an investment CRA is going to make, but more so being more the catalyst of promoting it to West Hartford, to possibly doing a webinar and an educational process of our partnership, and then obviously rolling it out to CRA members with a revenue share opportunity with the growth of this product. So everyone that I've talked to that's not on the call pretty much has agreed that they think it's definitely something we should do. But I want to be transparent with everybody here as well. Transparency is key. I mean, I think it's important to note to everybody here that there are people that are involved with the CRA in a product, but doing something on the side. And, I've been approached about possibly getting involved as well. If I do that to the board, I will let you know. But I think, I've talked to my colleagues in other states, like transparency is key. I'm not trying to do anything that's going to jeopardize the CRA, but I think this is warranted. I think it's something that's needed in our industry, especially this time right now, without question. And I haven't seen another product or anything out there. I've even talked to ServSafe. They partnered with another product. It's nothing like this. It's not what this is becoming. And I think this has a chance to, and then the benefit for the CRA down the road with my connections is, as you guys know, we work with the National Restaurant Association, but the other 51 state associations are all independent. So like going into Pennsylvania and John Longstreet or Bob Lutz in Massachusetts and saying, hey, we want to move to the Northeast, and sitting with them and say, hey, there's a revenue share opportunity for your association if you can get your New York restaurants or your Mass restaurants involved in DineSafe Mass, or if it's just DineSafe. And there's the partnership we're looking at the CRA, because we're kind of the ones launching it. We would have a small portion of that revenue share to those other states. So really the CRA would really benefit in the long run of where that model that Ryan's trying to take it to. So just wanted to be that's why I wanted to have this call as well. I want you guys all to know about the product first and foremost, if you haven't already, but also transparency is key in my role as well. Like, I don't want to just say, hey, we're doing this, and you guys are like, wait a minute, like, people are involved in CRA, and like I want to be able to have you guys know what we've been thinking about and talking about, and this, what Ryan's been doing on the side with his team as well and with the investors, but to make sure there's no questions or concerns in the roles that are kind of being played.
And I can assure everyone that should a conflict ever arise, I'm not really sure how one would, but if a conflict ever arose, I would step down as CEO, and I take my role as counsel to the association incredibly seriously, and would never do anything to jeopardize that. Talk with my father a lot about this. He's been involved in the industry a long time. He thinks it's a comfortable place to be. But should that role ever conflict, I will step down as CEO. That's my promise to each and every one of you.
Other questions from the group? I know anybody that is on the phone or just no video, unmuted. You can unmute yourself if you have questions. If I don't have any other questions, I'll send an email out to especially the board. I appreciate you guys your time. Just a quick update. I got a note from Sean Kennedy while we were going through the presentation. So yes, the House did pass it 214 to 207 last night, Pelosi's bill. But the White House has already denounced it even before the Trump positive case, saying we're not passing this. They tried to push back and said, how about 1.6? But the Senate Republicans said, we only will go for 1 trillion. McConnell's holding his ground, and the House, they're fearful right now that the House is going to send everybody home and nothing's going to get done to the election. So not to have some great news on a Friday, but that is unfortunately the most up-to-date news I have from federal through Sean Kennedy. So I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that. And obviously we'll have our normal Uber call on Monday. And we'll work as long as the board gives approval for us to do this partnership. We'll work to try to get this product launched in West Hartford in the next probably 7 days to 10 days and go through that process and probably update everybody with another call, I would think, before we do a bigger launch to the CRA to make sure, we go through what we learned and with that product and what changes might be made moving forward. That works.
Yvette, is this call recorded?
It is.
Can you send the link so I can share with my partners?
Sure. Yeah. And we just recorded the DineSafe portion. So yes, we can do that.
You don't need my 20 minutes of federal state fun.
I saw from something you sent out that there was a proposal to extend the federal benefit back
that
to
was
$60.
that was in Pelosi's plan. So that's going to die. I mean, if you guys want to know a crystal ball based on Sean Kennedy's public text to me, he thinks a stimulus bill being passed before the election is dead in the water. It's not happening. So they think anything that's going to pass probably will not be until January of next year. Now, obviously, that's a quick reaction from what happened last night. I'll get some updates next week. But I just want you guys to start to prepare if you're thinking you're going to have another round of PPP or additional funding in the next 2.5 months. It doesn't look great coming from federal. Do I think that whoever wins the election and come back to January, but I don't know if that's going to be too late. I mean, I'm trying to deal with some state grants, and I'm going to reach out to David Lehman right now on this dead in the water to say, what the hell are you doing about state grants through CARES Act money? Because they've been blaming, oh, we're waiting to see if federal does something, so we don't need to. That's BS in my opinion. But so I just want you guys to be prepared if you're thinking federal, something's going to come out. It looks like it's not, unfortunately. All right. If there's no other questions, thank you all for being on the call this morning. Good to see some of your faces. I'm hoping to put together, a meeting in person, obviously before the end of the year, a formal board meeting with everybody on the board, and probably expanded board because I want to see you guys in person. But stay safe. I wish you guys all the best this weekend. Hopefully the weather starts to break a little bit. But please, anything you guys need, you have my cell, text or call, and I will talk to everybody on Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.